Well, today we bring our battle scene to a close, and if you remember yesterday, we had Moses with the Red Sea before him and the whole Egyptian army behind him. It seemed like an impossible situation. You have to remember that although we don't know the exact crossing place of the Red Sea, probably one of the narrowest spots is 12 miles across and 230 feet deep. What do? You've got the sons of Israel numbering almost 2 million people, men, women, and children. And you've got an Egyptian army with 600 chariots and all of the horses of Egypt and all of the army of Egypt coming after them. They've got full weapons. The sons of Israel have none. What do? And we said that Moses had learned he is Lord. And he said, stand still and watch the salvation of the Lord. Well, what happened? Well, here's what happened in chapter 14, verse 18. God reminded Moses, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. And it says that immediately a cloud came behind the Israelites and in front of the Egyptians. And the Egyptians couldn't get to the sons of Israel. But that didn't change their situation. They couldn't move forward and they couldn't move back because of the sea and the army. But Moses stretched his arm out, or his hand out, over the sea and swept the sea to the sides. It says an east wind, and it says that there was a passageway through the Red Sea, and it was dry land. Now, how do you dry up a sea so that it's not a muddy bottom? And how do you pile up 230 feet high water and make a passageway so that nearly 2 million people can walk through on dry land? But that's what God did. And it tells us then that the Egyptians, seeing what had happened, followed them into this path. Now, whenever we look at any kinds of pictures of this or whatever, we kind of think that this is a short distance, and how could you get 2 million people through without the Egyptians catching up to some of them in the midst of this? But we're talking about 12 miles. And God allowed the sons of Israel to get through this passageway before he allowed the Egyptians to get into this passageway. And he caused confusion amongst the Egyptians. Their chariots were going every which way, and the Egyptians themselves could tell that there was something miraculous about this. For if you look at verse 25, it says the Egyptians said, we need to flee from the Israelites because the Lord is fighting for them. You see, the Israelites had not had to fight at all. They just got through. And now the Egyptians were in utter confusion. Now the Lord told Moses in verse 26, stretch out your hand and allow the waters to come back over the top of the Egyptians. You say, well, 600 chariots and all of the horses, 12 miles. Lots of room for all of those people. And he did, and the waters went over the top of the Egyptians. And it says real clearly in verse 28 in the text, not one remained. That's a tragic loss. I mean, as I've been praying about the Ukraine and all that's going on with Russia, it's hard not to have compassion to say, if I were a Russian man or a Russian woman who had a son that was in the army and he was invading Ukraine because he was told to do that by his government, should I find delight in the fact that U.S. has provided a missile to take out the tank, take out the soldiers of Russia? It's hard, isn't it? Because we're human and we have humanity and compassion. But it's also hard for us to sit back and watch Russia kill men, women, and children just because of greed for land grab. Well, it's a little bit the same way for me when I think about this Egyptian army being flooded out and not one living. But they'd had lots of chances, hadn't they? 10 plagues, lots of warnings. And some of them obviously saw that God was fighting for the Israelites. Verse 31. Israel saw the power of God. They feared him. Not a cowering into the corner, but they recognized the kind of power God has and that he is Lord. And it says they believed in the Lord and servant Moses. Hallelujah. I don't know how this thing in the Ukraine is going to end up. Somehow I wish that the soldiers of Russia would rebel against their own government and say, this is an unrighteous war. We refuse to continue killing men, women, and children. I don't think that's the way it's going to happen, but with God, anything is possible. But I do pray that Ukraine will win. I do pray that Russia will be set back to realize that this isn't the way that our world needs to be. And I know that God's able. So many times we've seen wars in Israel, nations around them attacking them. And in 5 days, 3 days, in a short period of time, Israel, even though outnumbered, has won the battles. Can God do it again in the Ukraine? Yes, he can. Will he? I don't know. But that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.